Hello there everyone, and welcome to my monthly MTA committee meeting reaction. This is the July 2019 edition. I am going to be reacting to what I normally like to do every month with the MTA committee meetings. And I have decided that since last month I played a video from the crab rave, hopefully I won't get demonetized this time, but I've decided for future uploads, I'm not going to be putting any more music because I just do not want to get copyright complaints and then weird ads might be showing up on this channel. The goal of this channel is supposed to be ad-free, and some of my other previous videos have been like that, but please, the last thing we need is to have this issue brought up again. Really don't want to have more unnecessary ads from third-party contributors, so this time we hopefully will not have that, and hopefully YouTube won't detect what I'm saying, but for future reference in general, I'm just gonna bring that up. No more music before videos, even if it's not copyright, because I'm just really getting annoyed that YouTube's just being restrictive about that. Anyhow, let's get to what we need to discuss. We're going to talk about Metro North Long Island Railroad. We're going to talk about New York City Transit. We're going to talk about finance. And we're going to talk about CPOC, which I won't really go into CPOC that much, because if you want to see CPOC, what I would recommend doing is just watch the CPOC video yourself for today, because Chairman Foy was supposed to bring up updates about 2nd Avenue Phase 2 and an update on the east side access for the Long Island Railroad. Yours truly attended the Finance and CPOC meetings, so Capital Finance Oversight Committee meetings, at 2 Broadway on the 20th floor. So we'll get to my comments at the end of this video, because we'll save the best for last, of course. Now, for future reference, when I go to these meetings, I will only be attending the finance, and I will only be sticking around for public comment speakers, because this was the first time I ever went. My mom gave me an exception today, but due to the fact that, you know, she wants me home in a reasonable time, I can understand that. So another reason was going home today before rush hour. It can really be a damper. That's all I'll have to say. And plus, no express train to Jamaica, which made it even worse. I had to stop in Woodside today, but let's get into it. Let's react to my normal routine, which we do every month. So first up, we will react to public speakers from Metro North and Long Island Railroad Committee. Now again, I do not like to talk about future planned service changes, because then when we talk about them for the normal Friday upload, it just really wouldn't be fair to you, the audience who is watching. So again, I do not want to bring up any future PowerPoints starting, especially this month. We will not be reacting to President Ng's PowerPoint, because it is just unnecessary, and especially how I was on my way down there today. Honestly, I haven't even watched President Byford's report. That's all I really watch NYCT for, just the President report and Chief Edward De La Torre's crime report. So that's all I really try to keep an eye on when it comes to NYCT committee meetings, and besides the public speaking comments. So I will mention one thing before we get started. There were a lot of people complaining about the F train, and especially Matt Camper today. So I will get to that in this video. So let's start off with the fool known as Murray Bowden. Get to him first if I can fast forward. Do apologize. That's Orrin Getz, Jason Pinero. We'll get to him. I'm sorry, but I need to get to Murray first. Let's see. Was Mr. Bowden even there? Let's see. I don't... Yeah, here he is. He came on right after Jason. So let's just see if we can fast forward to this point. We'll mute it for just a second. And again, I will put on my desktop audio so you all can hear me while I afterwards, of course. So of course we have Jason on mute for a second. I will play his comments right after. Ooh, I do apologize, folks. I want to put it in 1080 because we are going to be having this video up for you all in 1080 30 frames, because again, I've had previous complaints that, oh, the video isn't in 30 frames and my phone or tablet can't handle it. Well, that's why I will be putting it in 30 frames when I edit this video later on. Okay, here we go. So let's watch Murray Bowden.
Monday, December 19th, 2011. Susan, you were there. Vinny, you were there. Well, other people were there too. Some you remember, some you don't. My comments, as this is the earliest report that is on your website. I've been doing this for 20-odd years, since Virgil was here. My comments. Murray Bowden of Concerned Grandparents shared his views on the need for change. He asked President Permit to arrange for him to meet with Metro North staff to speak about a way to approach future projects. Exactly what I've been saying here lately. The new item is the MTA has changed. They are listening in a way that never happened before. I'm out of this now. It is your responsibility to see that the various subjects that I email you are implemented. You have the responsibility to see that we go forward. It's been a pleasure to be here. My time's over. Thank you.
Once again, this is the example of a fool right here. I'm sorry. But again, I've had to see this guy since I started to watch these meetings, and especially, I will admit, at Finance Today, I did sit next to him, and that was because I wanted a good spot to see Larry Schwartz during the finance meeting. And all I'm going to say is, you know, he claims that he's done speaking, but why does he show up still? You know, that's why I'm going to criticize him. Because it's like, okay, you're done, so what if another Bowden wants to speak? I mean, maybe I welcome it. I would, for a change of pace. Some fresh, exciting, younger version. I don't know. But, again, I don't want to comment any further about him, because he does make better points at transit meeting at NYCT, and he's like a very important cast member. I'll call him a cast member to be reasonable. All right, like Jason's one of them, for an example. He's very important. Imagine, like, if you were watching, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good show. Not SpongeBob. That would be not a good example. I'm trying to think. Alright, what about... Not I Love Lucy. That would be too extreme. Can't really think of one at the top of my head. Let's just go with a good show that I watched a lot. Alright, let's just go with All That. How about... That's a good example. Let's say that Jamie Lynn Spears and Amanda Bynes were not on All That during my childhood. You think it would have the same effect every month, memorizing all the great stuff? Murray the Fool, it's like a comedy. He's like Drake Bell when he was on the Amanda Show. That's how I describe it. And thanks to that, you know, Drake Bell and Josh Peck had a successful series for 3 years, but, you know, it's kind of like Drake and Josh in a way. Murray's like Josh in a way that Josh always erupted, and Jason is like Drake, where he's laid back and he's calm and cool, and rarely erupts unless it's the right time to do so. And Drake Bell did have those moments on Drake and Josh. I will admit that. So it's like watching a TV show. That's how funny this guy is. It's not like Matt Camper, where Matt has been advocating for 2 years, and Matt makes very reasonable points, especially when you date back to the Nowakowski administration. So, again, I'm at a loss. Especially, again, I know Matt over the years, trust me. He was more laid back when Williams was the president. Way more laid back. Trust me, I've known Matt for 15 years. Matt can have his eruptions, and he's fair to have them. But we'll talk about him later on in this video, because Matt today was the professional that he always is and always will be. So let's go to Jason. Now, this is very important, because Jason will lead us off into a very important part of this online platform. And that is a certain person over the past, let's say, 3 years here on YouTube. Not 3. No. It has to go back 20. I would be reasonable enough to say 2014. 5 years. 5 years since this person started to do transit videos. Which, that's what got me and Matt into this whole thing in the first place. Because of this certain YouTuber. And we will talk about him later on in this video, who I have very close ties with. And I've gotten to know personally as a very nice individual. So let's go to Mr. Jason Anthony Pinero, our second leading cast star for these committee meetings.
First thing first, the Long Island Railroad has to improve communication with their riders, because as you guys know, Manhattan suffered a massive blackout 2 Saturdays ago, and no information was provided from the Long Island Railroad regarding providing cross-honoring between the railroad and the subway. The subway sent, New York City Transit sent a tweet. This tweet was never confirmed by the Long Island Railroad. It was a total chaos, and those in the island suffered the consequences. So, Phil, and we need more communication between the railroad and the riders. And as you guys see over here in the room, we have several riders that ride the Long Island Railroad every single day. They could describe to you their frustration, their nightmares, and we need to do better in providing service for those who live in Long Island and on the Metro North Territory as well. And I know that Kathy is doing her job, and Phil, I know you too. So that being said, today's bottom line is better communication between both entities and the commuters. So that's all I have to say for this month.
So, the professionalism of Mr. Jason Anthony Pinero at its finest. That's why he has my respect. That's the bottom line. And I will say this because I agree with him on how both entities, Metro North Railroad and the LIRR, did not cross honor during the blackout in Manhattan 2 weeks ago. I was very annoyed, especially at the Long Island Railroad. Which, first of all, there was no power at Penn, number one. Imagine being at Penn Station during a blackout, which I would never hope I go through, believe me. Being at Penn Station during a blackout would be the worst thing that could happen to me or anybody else. But not telling people that you're cross-honoring and you have power in the East River tunnels. There was clearly power in the East River tunnels that were able to get the trains out to Heroin Interlocking 2 weekends ago during the blackout. Long Island City didn't lose power. And that's what makes me very mad. Same with the tunnels at Grand Central. They had power going to Harlem. Why couldn't Metro North cross on her? You literally could have provided people, service to Queens and the Bronx during the outage. These are two entities that need to be held accountable. And the reason why they need to be held accountable, it's for the public's interest. And especially, again, the media, who I'm going to call them out again. New York 1, CBS 2, NBC 4 New York. I'm only calling out the New York City stations. Fox 5 New York, ABC 7 NY, Pix 11. They did not have any reporters going to Penn Station or Grand Central during the blackout 2 weeks ago. And I saw what was Penn like on Twitter. I saw it. Alright? I don't know if that was looting at Godfrey. I hope it wasn't. I do agree with Jason. Communication. Thankfully, Metro North last week communicated with everybody on Friday. We're going back to Friday now, which was the 19th, the first day of the heat wave. All the number lines had an issue with the network issue. Thankfully, Metro North realized that, oh, we can't get our customers along the one line in the Bronx, or, oh no, we can't get people on the 4, 5, and 6 in the Bronx. Yep, they realized that. They realized that they had to cross honor on all 3 branches of Metro North Railroad: Hudson, Harlem, and New Haven. So, that's why I'm mad at Metro North and Long Island Railroad this month. And trust me, if I was there, that's what my public comments would have been to the Joint Metro North Long Island Railroad Committee. Alright? Bridge plates, and that's what Jason told me. Bridge plates at Fordham, that's not a big problem. They'll be gone in September when the work at Fordham, when the work at Melrose and Tremont are done in the Bronx in September. Don't worry about that. What we need to worry about is if we have another situation that happened in Manhattan back on July 13th, exactly 42 years to the exact date the 1977 blackout happened. We cannot afford to make sure people get stranded. If Metro North tunnels at Grand Central, going north to Harlem 125th Street, and the Long Island Railroad with the East Side tunnels on the east side that links up to Woodside, you can get people out there, cross honor. That's all I'm saying. If you know there's a blackout similar to what happened in Manhattan 2 weeks ago. That's all I'm saying. Being reasonable here. That's what made me mad. And the emotions have just built up for me the past 2 weeks because today is the right day to do it. Because, remember, this is the day to talk about it. This is our chance for the rest of the summer until September. So, enough ranting about how Metro North and Long Island Railroad handled the blackout 2 weeks ago. Now we're going to fast forward to a certain individual by Pine Power LI. So what I'm going to do to protect his privacy, because he told me about this, that he wishes not to have his full name listed on YouTube, which I can understand that. I know it's still here, but still, I wouldn't want to have any online trolls, come onto this video and say, oh, I know where you live, because trust me, these trolls, I don't know how they do it these days, but they are so sophisticated when it comes to harassing people. It's clearly amazing. So, today, what happened was the best rant I have ever seen at an MTA committee meeting, And this was the most reasonable rant. You know what? Not reasonable. On point rant about the mistreatment of people along the Huntington and Ronkonkoma lines. So now we will watch Pine Power LI.
After a new Long Island Railroad president was named, and things are worse than ever for us on the Long Island Railroad main line. Every week, it's a signal problem, switch problem, or some other problem that results in delays, cancellations, and suspensions of service. And then there's the planned outages, like what we had this past weekend, where it was 100 degrees and you had no shuttle buses for people between Hicksville and Mineola. That's criminal. And honestly, there is no excuse not to provide shuttle buses. It's got to be against some kind of law or something. I don't know how you get away with it. It is not only your obligation, but a violation of our civil rights. And looking at the book for this committee, I see more work like this happening the rest of this year. Meanwhile, Long Beach stations get shuttle buses. All Long Beach stations get shuttle buses when I see work being done this fall. I'm no fool. I see exactly what's going on here. Communities on the main line are being discriminated against, while those on the South Shore and mainly white areas full of finance professionals get preferential treatment. Most of you don't represent us, but represent Wall Street, and are looking out for your own kind while screwing us. Week after week, there's only one line that seems to escape the problems, and that is the Babylon branch. And speaking of Babylon, which gets a full-time police patrol, while my town in Mineola, my station, is overrun with vagrants and beggars, and we don't get additional patrols. Yeah, and somebody asked me for $1 this morning there, all right? Every morning it's like this. You have an obligation to keep us safe. Not all communities with certain demographics just connected to Wall Street. And while I totally understand disruptions are needed to fix the main line's problems, you need to provide proper alternative transportation, which should not be a problem for you at the MTA with hundreds of buses that sit idle on the weekends. I have had a mental disability my entire life and cannot drive. I have seen my bus service ruined and my train service become worse as well. If this is your corrupt way of trying to force us out, I will see to it that you will not get away with this. Shame on you for how you treat people.
So once again, that was the famous YouTuber Pine Power LI, who almost has 2,000 subscribers here on YouTube, and he was exactly on point today. He was exactly on point. It's clear that since Long Island Railroad President Philip Bang has taken charge since April of 2018, we have noticed in the past, let's go back to March for a reasonable date. Since March, we've been noticing a lot more issues on the main line, and every day it specifically happens on the Ronkonkoma line. And the trouble spot is always islip. So that makes me suspicious in one, not islip. I'm trying to think. If I have my Long Island Railroad map on me, let's see if I can find it. Let's pull up a PDF. I'm going to show you all. It's Central Islip. Okay. Give you all an idea. It's not Islip. Islip's the Montauk line. Okay. Central Islip. Now, every other day, or maybe it's every day, we always seem to have a signal issue at Central Islip. Meanwhile, if you go from Oakdale, you take a diesel train, but then you have to go to Babylon to connect with electric service. So, first, if you're coming from electric territory at Ronkonkoma and you go to Central Islip early in the morning, most of these issues happen between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. when most people are traveling westbound to get to Penn Station. That sounds very suspicious now, does it? It seems the Long Island Railroad can't figure out that it's time to update the signals at Central Islip. It's probably equipment that has been around since the 20th century as a safe estimation. Same with the equipment, let's say at Mineola. At Mineola, you have equipment similar to that dates back to the 20th century. And I would assume it's like that at Carl Place in Westbury. Hicksville had that big project, but we all know what happened in Hicksville. They had an inferior job, versus, again, Merrick, Belmore, had first-class renovations. USB charging should not be a selling point. At least canopies and nice brickwork would be reasonable. At Hicksville, that didn't happen. I will talk about my comments to CPOC later on in this video, because I gave a positive thing about the main line. Because the main line can be great again. Especially how I was advocating for electric service, which sees the most amount of people on an average day. Meanwhile, the Babylon branch seems to have an increase in ridership too. Sometimes you'll get lucky when you have 2 or 3 cars that are empty. It has been documented by Pine Power LI in the past. But the flyers, once again, should not be going here. They should be going here. Because it is a busy station. Just like Mineola, for an example. During the rush hours, Merrick, Belmore definitely see a lot more people. Now, we don't need to bring up the D word, but I'll bring up one quick thing at finance. And John made a very good point. We'll just call him John. And Jason even did that too. John from Pine Power LI. Just for reasonable dialogue here. I did sit next to somebody who works at Chase. And that doesn't surprise me, because 2 Broadway is located approximately 2 blocks to Wall Street, where the New York Stock Exchange is. And it is in walking distance to where the World Trade Center and the World Financial Center is. So am I surprised that you had people influenced with banks and stocks were there? No, because it's the normal in New York. It's probably like that in Chicago too, because they have a stock exchange. LA, that's not the case, because the people who work in the financial field on the West Coast are in San Francisco. And we won't get into that, because San Francisco is a whole different story with their issues. But here in New York, it's clearly obvious that when you want to go to the financial capital of the world, you have to be here. And tradition has shown that since the 20th century. And in the year 2029, we will mark 100 years since the Great Depression. Hopefully history won't repeat itself again from bad economic decisions. And I will bring up one more thing. The people who think going to the South Shore is a good idea will rue the day that they moved down there, because if we get another storm that's worse than Sandy, let's say a Category 3 or a Category 4, their property will be wiped off the map. And guess where they will have to consider moving to? The middle of Long Island. It will take years to rebuild these South Shore towns. And if it's not there, and I've even bring this up, remember, this certain class of people are now moving into Limbrook, Center Avenue, East Rockaway, and Oceanside. Long Beach is a different story because the people there are very friendly. But, again, John made a very good point that on the Long Beach branch next month, they will be getting bus service during mainline shutdown. Their mainline, their livelihood, I mean. This is where they live, and they will be getting fair representation. Meanwhile, people who need to go between Hicksville and Mineola do not have that option when Long Island Railroad will be doing their work in August and September. And potentially, we may have more work in October, especially when more details come out in the committee book in September. Pine Power Ally did the right thing today and spoke up for the people of the middle of the island. He is a very smart person, especially how he's a lifelong Long Islander. And considering how most of my life I have been going to Long Island on the weekends with my parents, and I clearly see the changing shift in what Long Island has become. Just one quick example, Westbury. Post Avenue used to be a very thriving downtown in the early to mid 2000s. That's not the case anymore. Mineola was once considered a great place to raise a family. Oh sure, maybe if you go along Old Country Road and look at all those nice nostalgic houses that were built in the 1920s, would be a good example. But I would consider that to be eastern Mineola. And if you go south of Old Country Road, that's Garden City geographically. What should be considered North Mineola or northeastern Mineola should be north of the Mineola train station. That's what I like to consider the part that used to be thrively like Westbury was in the early to mid 2000s. Over the years, that doesn't seem to be the case. However, if you go along Jericho Turnpike, that's a different story. There's a certain shift in what's really going on. If you live south of the train station and you are along Old Country Road in general, be grateful that Pine Power LI did not call you out, because you may be seeing these people, hopefully not, but it's just a warning sign, and we'll see how it goes. I, for one, do not want to see any of those nostalgic houses lose property value, because most of those houses were built in the 1920s and during the Great Depression, the 1930s, and especially how it became a big part of the Long Island housing boom in the 1960s and 70s, especially an area like Hicksville, which saw a big growth in housing growth. That's why there was a railroad station built there. So that way, if people wanted to go to Sears, they would have that option to commute from work. Obviously, we know what happened, but hopefully this won't be the last time we hear from him. We will see how it goes. He's not obligated to, but at least he showed up, and that's the main thing. And I don't care how long this video is, we must go in depth with public speakers today, because that's what this video is really about. So now we will watch my friend of 15 years, Matt Camper. Which, Matt, if you are watching, officially this month will mark 15 years since we started our friendship. July of 2004. So, thank you for being a friend is what the Golden Girls theme song would be. Which, please, if you have Hulu, just watch it. It's an amazing show. But let's watch Matt's comments, shall we?
Good morning, MTA Board, LIRR, Metro North Committee, and of course, President Phil Eng. My name is Matt Camper, and I'm a fellow LIRR rider and, of course, advocate for the MTA. I'm here this morning to address with you all about the over year-long, last 10 times in the last year of slow-speed LIRR derailments, whether it's on the main line, whether it's been at Jamaica, whether it's been on the Port Washington branch. There was even one instance in the Babylon yard that it happened in. And us, the LIRR riders, are really getting sick and tired of having to hear about this. And it's just that we do not get any explanation as to why it happened in the first place, and especially how it is being prevented. And I am urging President Phil Eng to please come back to us, the board members, and the public in general, and make sure that we understand what exactly has been going on with this issue to make sure that these issues do not keep on happening in the future. Obviously, Metro North had major derailments several years ago, 3 in a matter of, a year and a half or 2 years. And Metro North, for example, has had these issues fixed and is a reliable service. I want to see the same thing happen with the LIRR, no matter what branch you are on, and I am making sure that all my fellow riders understand exactly what has been going on and how to make sure these issues do not keep on continuing, because I'm afraid that one day there could be a serious derailment, and then that's when something is going to be done. And I don't want that to happen. I want to make sure that everybody is safe and doesn't have to worry about, oh, we're going to be on a train that could potentially derail at any moment. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
The professional known as Matt Camper. Excellent that he brought up the slow-speed derailments. I just wish the media would cover it. But remember, it's Trump media right now, so we're not going to really get into that. If you want to get into it, just watch CNN every day. That's all I'm going to say, but as far as Matt, very good that he's talking about real-world issues. Doesn't it sound very suspicious that we've had 10 slow-speed derailments since 2018? That sounds very odd now, does it? And Matt brought up a very good point about Metro North. And I'll bring up how again. My experience going to and from Fordham to Grand Central. Even though my southbound train to Grand Central was crowded, and you can blame that for the bridge plates of Fordham, you know, it was certainly a whole lot better than what I've dealt with on the Long Island Railroad. And we're not going to bring up anything Metro North right now, because that's not the point. The point is, I do agree with Matt that something needs to be done, and I really wish the Federal Railway Administration, the FRA, gets involved. It's their job to make sure that if a constant issue like this happens, it gets investigated. And if it gets investigated, you know who's responsible for this, for the state-run entity known as the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. That's right, Governor Andrew Mark Cuomo. Because if there is an investigation, it's all in his hands. And if it's not his, it goes to Philip Eng. Or, if certain incidents happened in the Nowakowski administration, it goes to Patrick Nowakowski, who left office in April of last year. Matt also today brought up a point about the F train, which I don't want to get into because that would just give me a bigger headache than what I've already had to deal with traveling to Manhattan today. But I will fast forward right now to public speakers. And we had Jason today. we had Matt today, Lisa Daglian. I won't get to Murray Bowden because we've given him enough face time today. He just doesn't deserve it, but a lot of people were there today. That was very good. One mention to know, Omar Vera was not at the meeting today. But again, Omar, if you are watching, you are again the inspiration for the White Skimmerhorn Summit. So without Omar, that summit would have never happened. So thanks to him. Which, remember, because of Atlantic Ticket, that was all possible. So now we will go to our important cast member, known as Jason Anthony Pinero. And I will also mention that a couple politicians also spoke today. But one notable politician was not there and never shows up to any of these meetings. The mayor of New York City. He should be going there so that way the governor is made aware of certain issues. But remember, de Blasio is too busy playing president right now. Remember this also. This is a game for him. So he doesn't care. He really doesn't care. So now, let's watch Jason.
I was coming from my work in Staten Island on July 13th. Getting off the Staten Island ferry, going to Bowling Green to take the 4 train, and noticing through the PA that the 4 train was not running between Bowling Green and Brooklyn due to a stalled train in the Joalman tube. Then I had to rush out of the station and walk to Whitehall Street, and then take the R train to J Street Metrotech. When I get off at J Street Metrotech, I see a bunch of people, the platform so full that even the line got to the stairwell in the mezzanine area, almost getting to the fare control area with no platform controllers whatsoever. I want to thank Sarah and her team of keeping us updated, but like I mentioned in the joint commuter rail, there has to be more inter-agency communication between all agencies when things like this happen. Because what if a person depends on the subway but has a commuter rail? Could that person use a Metro card in the commuter rail to be cross-honored? That was a good question that some folks had, but at least we're back online. And kudos to Alice Gooden that came up in the top 40 on the 40 on this week's
Please
edition of
conclude
the
your
City
remarks.
and State. So that's all I have to say.
So that's the point I brought up earlier, was that, again, there should have been cross-honoring, bottom line, and Jason brought up something I'm not going to comment on, but I've been talking now for an hour, and I feel that we do not need to get into the situation with Brooklyn. If you want to know more about Brooklyn, I will give you Matt Camper's reaction video, because he will explain it better than I could, because, again, I don't really want to get into it, but I will quickly bring this up. I am planning a summit at J Street Metrotech. Dates will be to be determined. It will probably be in the fall, but I know I'm going to make it happen. I know I'm making it happen, so we will be doing that for the Summit Series, and we won't get to Mr. Bowden's comments from Bridges and Tunnels, because, again, not notable. But we will now fast forward to finance and CPOC, which, again, yours truly had the honor of attending today. So, next up, we will start off with Jason. Now, with Jason, it was very good. I was very impressed. So let's watch Jason.
I'm gonna be very brief. I'm gonna talk about the Fair Vision issue. It is still going on. The agency is estimated to lose $260 million this year alone. Money that we cannot afford to keep losing. So, Bob, let's come with a recipe, something like that, or ways that we as an agency be creative, thinking outside the box to get revenue without cutting 2,000 jobs like the Alex Partners report suggests, and not impacting service cuts. And I'm going to raise on the minute that I have a question regarding the Alex Partners and Lisa Donahue. Why Lisa Donahue? Because she was behind the restructure of the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority. We don't want to make the same mistake that they did down there in Puerto Rico, that they ended granting her $16 million of contract. So I want you, Larry, and Bob, that commit yourselves to do a lot of thinking, go back into history, and we don't want to give Alex Partners $16 million. So that's your homework for this month.
So, interesting comments from Jason. I understand why he brought up Puerto Rico, because the island since Maria has really been on a downward spiral. I feel bad for every single person of Puerto Rican heritage, especially Jason. And I will say this, I hope that MTA learns their mistakes and doesn't make a bad business deal, because we know how our current president relates this stuff. But I will say this, very good point from Jason about fare evasion. And I will mention this if you want to watch. At Finance today, and I sat through the whole meeting, okay? Just to clarify the point. The whole meeting lasted 50 minutes almost. Yeah, 50. So, yeah. And they did bring it up about homeless people. And I will say this. I will be discussing homeless people in September. Believe me. It has to be addressed. So, if I can go in September or October, yours truly will be addressing the homeless situation at Kew Gardens Union Turnpike. Because it has to be addressed. And at Forest Hills. There's no excuses. It has to be addressed. And I will mention that there's a disturbing ad I couldn't bring up this month. It's been going on the buses. The Museum of Sex. I've been disturbed about it because children can easily get influenced, and that's something Mr. Rogers always talked about when he wasn't doing his show. When he was talking one-on-one with the adults, he had mentioned that, especially when RFK was assassinated back in the 60s. Children can easily get influenced by that, and they will ask their parents all about that stuff. And I feel that that's negative. Why is the MTA putting that on their buses? So if I see it in the fall still, I will bring that up to Larry Shorts. Because it is a finance issue. Because it is advertising. It is advertising. Remember that. And guess who gets advertising? And who deals with that? Larry Shorts. He deals with advertising. When it comes to putting ads on buses and subways, Long Island Railroad, and Metro North. So, let's hope that in the fall when school starts, there won't be any more of those ads of the Museum of Sex, because it is inappropriate. We don't need... I'll just say it and get it over with, and if I get demonetized, I don't care. We do not need to promote sexual intercourse in public. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Because inappropriate, it's not, definitely not in a public situation. Definitely not. And there's better advertisers. Like, for an example, and I'll bring this up in the fall as well. Why couldn't they have signs promoting Sam Champion's return to Channel 7 in the morning? That's a positive advertisement. Wouldn't you want to know that a veteran meteorologist was back where he belonged in his home market? Doing the morning and afternoon news? That to me is certainly a better advertisement. Especially promoting a couple months ago, or I think 2 years ago, when Lori Stokes was hired to work at Good Day New York, which was an excellent opportunity for Lori when she left WABC. And she did it on her terms. And to this day, and I still tune in on occasion, Lori does a fantastic job on Good Day New York. And because of her, we now have Good Day Delmarva with Mike Lynchiak on WBOC, the Fox affiliate, who hosted every single day. So if it wasn't for her and her co-anchor, the Good Day Fox program wouldn't have been extended nationwide. Just gonna bring that up for an off-topic point. There's positive ads in the world, like media, or a useful product. But, once again, sexual intercourse is not appropriate in public. It makes me angry, and it makes me frustrated. And the reason why I don't yell about it, it's because of human nature. That's what was intended. But in a public situation, it's very inappropriate to promote that. And I'm afraid as society, we could be degrading ourselves if we do that. This is why I miss the early to mid 2000s. Because after 9/11, we became a stronger country in a sense. Sure, we had our downfalls at the end of the decade. But between 2002 and 2006 was a much simpler time. Okay, maybe we had a 3-day disruption, but whatever. The point is, when I was growing up, thank goodness we never thought of that stuff. Sure, we thought of boyfriend and girlfriend, but we didn't take it that far. And I just wish that the MTA could learn that it's not right to promote it in public, is what I'm trying to say. Positivity needs to come. And I will bring that up in September because I'm just annoyed of talking about it right now. And I'm annoyed because, again, there's positive things. And I will mention ideas for advertising. Because it's a finance committee and they need to know that there are better things to promote than sexual intercourse. Please. I know it's natural, I know it's a thing, but again, what if you had to deal with it in public all the time? Because I saw numerous buses, especially in Queens. This ad is everywhere. It makes me sick and disgusted. It's an intimate experience, and it shouldn't be shared with everyone. That's all I'm trying to say. And me and my friends have even discussed it, and they agree with me. We're talking about my close friends, who I feel comfortable talking about it with. Let's move on right now. Matt Camper. And we won't play it because, again, we've been on here for a while. Talked about MTA Long Island bus. There's no need to play his comments because we know what it's about. We know that we want MTA to take over the bus system again. The Finance Committee should look into negotiations with Nassau County and consider bringing it back. Because the TransDev contract will expire in 2021. And it makes it controversial to know that we have a Nassau County executive race that year. Laura Curran will be up for re-election. So it'll be very interesting when the time comes. Now, I won't get to Murray, because again, showing the fool will just not be good. Just won't be good. So now, I will fast forward to my comments, because very important that I fast forward to my contacts. My comments, excuse me. Yeah, I'm just so excited, you know? The first time you get to see me in front of the camera. Look at that. I never thought this day would come. But it's happening. To this time, I still think about how I've worked this moment. So let's watch how they pronounce my name correctly at finance, but they mispronounced it at CPOC.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Andrew Pollack.
Good afternoon. Before I talk about finance, I quickly want to mention a bus detour on the Q30, Q31. Recently, in the past month, it has been detoured along Jamaica Avenue because of DOT road work along Archer Avenue. This is a major inconvenience for students who go to York College, especially when classes will start on August 27th. Hopefully, President Byford can look into getting the original route back along Archer Avenue. Now, my point about finance. Last month, I was pleased to hear that Long Island Railroad President Philip Bang announced the extension of the Atlantic ticket. This is great, because this board finally realizes the importance of travel between Brooklyn and Queens, especially how Brooklyn has lots of opportunities in the job field and especially in the leisure field. But now I feel it's time to expand on that and bring the Freedom Ticket, which will be similar to what Atlantic Ticket is. $5, of course, $10 for a round trip, which will be between Queens and Manhattan, which of course is Penn Station, and it will be the same $60 monthly ticket that's currently offered between Atlantic and the qualifying stations in Queens. With that, I yield my time.
Very important I brought that up because I am the only voice of Queens. Remember that. York College students, if you're watching, you should be thankful I said that stuff today. I'm looking out for you guys. You don't want to walk that extra block from Jamaica Avenue. You don't want to go into the Social Security building, right? Right? Exactly. That was my point, and let's hope Freedom Ticket gets done. I'm not going to clarify on that because I made my points very clear in that speech I gave today. Jason was a little bit off at CPOC today, which I can understand why he was, because remember, he's working so many days at Amazon, and try being in the stressful situation that Jason is, commuting to Staten Island a majority of the week versus yours truly that works in Queens 3 days a week, part-time. And with my lifestyle, that definitely helps for me doing part-time work. Sure, the pay is less, but at least my bills aren't high thanks to me living in my own place and sharing it. So, to wrap up what I needed to say. I had a very important point about the main line expansion because it was very important to bring it up. Now, I will criticize everybody on the CPOC board because they mispronounced my name. So I hope in the September committee books, my name will be P-O-2-L's A. C is in Charlie and K is in Kevin. I hope that will be in the book. But I will bring that up in finance next month or in October. Let's watch my comments, and then the video will end. So with that, thank you all for watching. And if I didn't clarify Matt's comments, I will bring it up again. If I didn't, I apologize. Matt talked about Belmont, which was very good points today. Thank you, Matt, for talking about why Belmont's going to be bad. Because I just feel, and I agree with him, a lot of people's houses are going to be taken away because of this. And I'm just worried that if I need to go to West Hempstead or Franklin Square on a Saturday night, me and my dad are going to be stuck in traffic on the Cross Island if the Islanders have a game there. How I mean that's supposed to get to, not Franklin, is it? Hempstead Avenue. How I mean that's supposed to get to Hempstead Avenue on Saturday night. That's going to make it bad, so that's my worry about it. But yeah, I feel bad for those homeowners. So thank you all very much for watching this month's video. Hopefully I can convince Osnum that I can take more Mondays off and just change to a Wednesday schedule. If not, I can't dispute it because, you know, Osnum can get strict at a time. They can get strict. So if I can't go every month, please understand why. This month was an exception because, again, there was no resident council, and thankfully, I didn't have to worry about, oh, I just not missed anything. Again, my supervisor agreed that I could take the Wednesday shift next week, so that's why I went this week, in case anybody was wondering. So, thank you all for watching. For a more in-depth video, once again, please watch Matt Camper. And please watch Jason Anthony Pinheiro because he really goes in depth about these meetings. Until the next one, please take care and cue my comments from the CPOC meeting.
Our next speaker is Matt Camper.
Good afternoon, members of the CPOC committee. I want to talk to you all this afternoon. And by the way, my name is Matt Camper. I'm advocate for the MTA and LIRR commuter. This afternoon, I want to talk to you guys about the Belmont Park new station that will be built in what's technically actually Belrose Terrace. And I actually got a chance, along with another advocate, last week to see this area and stuff like that for myself. And I really don't like the plan. I don't like the fact that I understand potentially that people's homes, believe it or not, are not going to be there when the station opens. They're going to have to remove the homes because the platforms are going to be where the homes are, which, again, is public domain. The issue I have with that is just that people have the right to have the homes, and it's just you don't take people's homes. It's not right that people's homes are taken away just to build a new station. I really feel that you guys as a board really need to take a look at this and see if there is any other possible way to find another location for this new station, or my other suggestion is to look into the possibility of improving the current Belmont Park station on the LIRR, upgrading the substations, both at Queens Village and Belmont, and also looking at the possibility of having a spur for both eastbound traffic and westbound traffic, so that way people can come from the east from the main line, from the Hempstead, Port Jefferson, Ronkonkoma, Oyster Bay branches, and also come from the west from Penn Station and Jamaica, because it's going to be a disaster, and the streets are not conducive. At least from the new station, the current station, you have Hempstead Turnpike. You don't have that from the new station. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Andrew Poliak.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Pollack. That's P-O-2-L's-A-C-K. But anyhow, quickly want to mention before I get to my point about capital, Jason, quickly want to mention the next meeting here will be September 23rd. It's in the committee books. But let's talk about the third track. I am very pleased in President Ng's report earlier this morning at Long Island Railroad Committee meeting about the importance of the third track. It shows that the growth between New Hyde Park and Hicksville, and let's say further out east to Huntington or Ronkonkoma in that case, is very important. Because we see each year along the main line rapid growth in ridership. And that includes a couple of my friends who occasionally take the main line. I know somebody, let's say during the hockey season, they'll go to Barclays from Mineola in that example. So it's very important that we continue with the plan for the third track. I feel that if it keeps going the way it is, hopefully, and I'm assuming if everything is correct, hopefully by 2022 or the estimated date by 2023, the third track will be in operation. So let's hope it gets done on time. And with that, you all have a good August recess, and I will see you all in the fall.